Hey everybody, this is Tim Anderson, a programming coordinator here at the Florida Film Festival, and this is our Filmmaker Forum for the animated shorts competition block. Man, this is really exciting. I hope you guys had a chance to check it out in the theater yesterday. It sells out every single year, and it is always pretty much the highlight of the festival. And really a beast to get into. If you've been able to watch it online on our Eventive site, then that's awesome as well. And that'll be up there for the duration of the festival, which ends on the 20th. I have got together a huge assortment of the incredibly talented animators together with us here today to talk about their shorts. And hopefully we'll find out some really interesting tidbits about it. So I want to give a shout out real quick to the Orlando Film Commission for sponsoring the Filmmaker Forums, and let's go ahead and get started. Jake, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jake Freed. My film is Brainwave.
Awesome. Bernardo, welcome back to the festival. You got two there here this year.
Yeah, not quite back, but yeah, my name is Bernardo. My movie is called Hudson, Geese.
And Bernardo also shot the opening night, directed the opening night film, which is Boat Tour, which you guys can see online as well as in the, well, you had to come to opening night, so you missed that.
Missed it.
Super missed it. Ethan.
Hey, I'm Ethan. I made Destination Unknown.
Awesome. Greg.
Hey, my name is Greg Yagolnitzer. I made Walt.
Awesome. And Zandria.
Hi, I'm Zandria, and I'm the director for Doll Story.
So Lisa and then Anna, you guys can go like in succession.
Okay, I'm Lisa, and I'm one of the directors of the Opposites game.
And I'm Anna. I'm the second half of the game.
All right, UCF is in the house, so Frank, intro.
Hey, I'm Frank Volk. I directed Things Happen Because.
Nice. And Grier.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Grier. I did the message from space.
And I should have asked how to pronounce your name just in case, but I think it's Anca.
Yes, it's Anca, and I'm the writer and director of Lizard Queen.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for getting together and doing this with us. I'm amazed that I didn't mispronounce your name. I'm pretty excited about that. Animated shorts is probably the hardest thing. I know Matthew would probably attest to this as well. As a member of the selection committee for competition shorts, myself and Kat Whitaker and Susie Spang, who can be on the call today, and Matthew sit down, and picking the animated shorts program every year is a real beast for us. It's one block in 90 minutes long, give or take, and it's whatever we can get into it. And of course, it's an Oscar qualifier. And the caliber of what comes in every year is really amazing. And what I love about it is how almost pathologically diverse the lineup is in terms of what every year ends up on the screen, kind of representing animation, because it goes everything from cell and experimental to live action stop motion or regular just plain stop motion. We've really covered the gamut. You guys have all got really interesting things. So I think the biggest question I want to talk about with each of you is primarily what drew you, and it's a bad pun, your style. Like, I mean, why? Because I was a fine arts major and I majored in oil painting, but I didn't start there. I didn't go out one day and go like, oh, I'm going to paint oil painting. You know, I ended up there because it was the medium that worked best for me. So I'm actually kind of curious, and we'll start back at the beginning, with Jake and Puppy.
Apologies.
No, we've had nursing newborns and children bombs and every pet known to man on these.
Yep, there's like 4 dogs in this house with me right now.
So why your style?
Long story short, yeah, if you saw my work, it's all hand-drawn and really intricate and detailed and really quick. I actually started as a painter and a painting major in college myself. And really my approach to painting and animation are the same. I try to find myself or figure out what I want to say through the work, through making the work. And so through my painting practice, I just kept reworking paintings and layering them and coming back to the studio and working on paintings for years, and never really satisfied with a painting being finished or finishing any work of art. That's always sort of a weird moment for me. And slowly I started to learn the way these paintings or my work evolves over time really is what the work is about. and I started to kind of record those. And so like these slideshows of progress over like a decade slowly became a more intentional animation where I sort of just rework one image to build up a whole film. So the film you saw, Brainwave, is literally one drawing, one painting. Every frame is drawn on top of the last one, and there's no going back, there's no editing, there's no storyboard, and it's sort of a year of my life documented.
Yeah, your work is amazing, and we've showcased it here in the festival before, and we're never less than completely stunned by the amount of effort that you're putting into pulling off the projects. I imagine a lot of us fine arts majors here can understand the concept of abandonment of your work, yeah. Which is just like, I can't finish this painting. I'm going to work on it for the next 6 years of my life, so I'm just going to abandon it and move on to the next one. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I feel that, man.
And what's great about animation is nothing's ever static. I mean, it's always changing. And so that really works for my method of working.
Awesome. Well, we'll go to Bernardo on this one. It's the same question for everybody.
Yeah, Jake's movie sounds really beautiful, and my stuff usually is not. It's very like simple, and it's like I'm not great at drawing, and I do my best. I usually draw it all on paper, right on this thing. This one, just throw this on the floor. This one, this movie, though, I did it for FX as part of they have this programming show thing called Cake. When they have
the second person to say that, yeah.
Cake. And so I did a number of shorts for them, and they were animated at a studio called Floyd County in Atlanta, and they were really great, and I met with them, and they were like, we think we can imitate your shitty little style. Sorry, can I curse? I didn't realize.
you know me at all? Come on, man.
Okay. And they were like, we can do an approximation of this poor drawing, and I was like, great. So they helped me out and made it look nice and not like my usual stuff. But yeah, usually it's all just it's my own limitations as an artist is what defines the look.
All right. Ethan, so you're our first person up with stop motion. So
yes.
Why stop motion?
I started really young, stop motion animating. I enjoy the intuitiveness of it, that you can touch it with your hands and you can move it in space. And I also do a little bit of live action film work, and I just find that I really enjoy working with the puppet like you work with an actor. I think you kind of get something back from a stop motion puppet that's not always exactly what you intended. Yeah. You know, if your armature is breaking down or gravity is taking you a certain way. And sometimes I feel like that there's a humanity inside of that that's not exactly from me that really excites me. You know, when I can find that in a performance, then that's what like really does it for me in stop motion.
Yeah, there's definitely a tangential element of, you know, the fact that in stop motion, the thing is physically there. And I think that's something that I think a lot of people are always kind of driven towards when you look at stuff like Leica productions, or if you look in this year, we've got a couple pieces as well. But yeah, it's I mean, I'm never failed to be, much like Jake, I'm kind of never failed to be stunned when I see a piece and know essentially how long it took to kind of do it. Like in my head, I'm running the math out, like, oh man, just like, oh, stop motion. How long is this short? You know, a few years ago, we had a stop motion piece that closed it out that was 19 minutes long, and the animator was from Miami, and he taught himself stop motion animation, and he spent 12 years in his kitchen animating a short film. In the interim, he became so good that he ended up doing a bunch of maquettes for Lucasfilm on the Star Wars prequels, like in that same window.
So. The strangest thing for me about making one of these films for such a long time, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this, is like I learn and get better as I go. And so, you know, when I make a film across 3 or 4 or 5 years, I look back on shots that I did at the beginning of the process, and I'm like, oi, I wish I'd done that a little differently. But the work kind of like it lives on its own at that point.
Oh, for sure. Greg.
Yes. So Walt was also made for FX's Cake, and it was also animated by Floyd County. And it was also based on a short film that I made. And they kind of matched the style of the short that I made like 4 years ago. But the style is, I don't know if I've made a bunch of these Walt short films, and the content is usually like the stories are usually pretty dark.
Yeah.
And I like making the style a little bit lighter and kind of like poppy, I guess, if you want to call it that. Just to, I don't know. I think if it was like as grim as the story visually, it would be a little bit too much and not that fun to watch. So.
No, and I think that's one of the things that we think about when we watch Walt, is because it is not, I mean, it is grim, but it's also very, very funny what's going on. But I think it is the juxtaposition between this very, primary color set scheme, very kind of clean animation style, that harkens back to like kind of almost classic cartoons. And yet in it is just like, just the shit going down is kind of like, what?
Yeah, and the fact that he's cute definitely helps get away with a lot of things.
Yeah, I definitely feel like when we show people the still of it, like they don't really know what they're gonna get into by watching it.
Awesome.
So, and
That's
actually,
great.
so speaking of really dark animation shorts, that would bring us to Zandria. This thing's fucked up. So there, I see it for you, Bernardo.
Thank you.
That's for you, Bernardo.
That's a compliment, especially. So Doll Story was actually my senior project. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design, and my entire year was just soaked up with this one project. So my film is completely 3D CGI, and that's my focus is in visual effects. I'm just part nerd towards like horror movies, and I kind of wanted to incorporate that. I didn't intend it to be kind of like a play on words with Toy Story, but you could even say that's part of the inspiration was dolls that come alive. And they just happen to have a pet chihuahua in there some kind of way.
Bad habits.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is like, I mean, it's dark. Like we watched it and we were like, I mean, it is this idea of taking like this iconic ideal of the nuclear family, and then like in a way like Madman was so like prominent when it came out, and it was like, did you realize everybody's like a closet alcoholic lunatic that's on the show? And that's sort of this is they're these perfect Barbie doll-esque people, but really inside they're drugging their kids to keep them asleep, and everybody's an alcoholic, and they're like, I don't know what the hell they're doing to the dog in the basement.
They're chopping up the dog, and that's what they're eating is the dog's old legs, and trying to convert the dog into a doll itself. So it's fun. It's exciting.
It's amazing. I mean, it's unique, and that's something that was really exciting about it to us, as well as it was something that when we sat down and saw it, we were like, we've never seen anything like this before. This is really different.
Yeah, we decided not to play in the family film section.
Yeah.
Good.
There was a debate to play it at midnight, but we just felt that it was so strong from a story-wise that it had to play as a competition. So we were excited about that as well. Lisa and Anna, Opposites game is beautiful. This film's incredible, and it's obviously a powerful and timely story. But I think the thing that struck us about it as well is that we all played the Opposites game. I think everybody said afterwards, we all played the Opposites game in our head after it was over to try to think if we could solve the problem too.
Yeah, well, I can start by saying that the poem that that is animated is by Brendan Constantine, who Anna and I got the chance to collaborate with on this through TED Ed. So we did this film through TED Ed animation, and Brendan wrote this poem based on an experience in his own classroom. He teaches language arts to young people in California. Yeah, so this was based on his actual experience in the classroom. And then Anna, I saw Anna prepping our props in the background. So I can maybe pass it to Anna to talk a little bit about how we decided to make the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a combination of accidents and also our love to handmade animation that happens directly under the camera. So when in the poem itself, the classroom is playing a game of the opposites with a line from Emily Dickinson poem, "My life has stood a loaded gun," or something like that. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I spent so much time with this, and I don't even. Yeah. So I grew up in Russia. I never read Emily Dickinson before, and so driven just by curiosity, I went into the bookstore and bought this book.
Oh, nice.
Which is rather thick. So, and then we just did a couple of tests and ended up with a giant flip book, actually 9 of them. So the whole, we started by thinking about what are empty poems, because this is something that the poem ends with and something that is an important image. So we were thinking about what are the empty poems, what is the mystery about this, what can we imagine in empty poems? And we didn't solve it until the very end. But we ended up with a technique where we would basically erase a poem first. So we would wipe out the pages, the poems of Emily Dickinson. We would use white paint to wipe it out, just because it would be, otherwise it would be too much text that would distract. And then drawing on top of it. And yeah, that's how it was made. And at the end, we discovered it had a little bit more sense than we thought it would have.
No, it's again, it's a piece that's really incredibly impressive, the amount of work that was put into doing it. And, you know, it's not just the animation, the story, and it's just, you know, it's tough. Like, it really makes you think. So we're excited about it.
It's a provocative piece, definitely.
For sure. Frank, man, you know, we saw this thing a long time ago. It was one of the, really, it was, of all the you guys that are on here, this would have been the first piece of animation we actually saw at all, because we saw it for a supplementary festival that we work as part of, called the Bruja Film and Video Showcase. And it's just staggering, because it was hands down the best thing in that entire festival.
Oh, thank you.
I do love it a lot. So obviously we put it into competition at Florida. But yeah, talk to me a little bit about it, because this is a kind of combination of like what you would consider to be fairly rudimentary animation, but wrapped inside of a completely insane story.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself more of a writer, so I didn't even really consider animation. My friend Kayla just gave me a drawing pad on a whim, and I started doodling around with it, and pretty soon, you know, you start messing around with the tool, and you start kind of thinking with that tool, and pretty soon I had a script that could only be animated. And then I kind of ran into the problem that Bernardo was talking about, where I can't draw, you know? And so I just started inviting friends over, and I was like, hey, you want to play this part? You just got to stand there and do this pose, and like, now you fall over, somebody shoots you in the head, that kind of thing. And yeah, so that's where that style comes from, out of necessity, I guess.
No, that's all. I mean, that's awesome. And also, Bernardo's lying; he can draw.
Oh yeah, absolutely, he's lying.
Grier, this is way different than Vitamins for Life, the last short of yours that we showed here. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe you have to describe how Vitamins for Life is, but it's essentially kind of a version of stop motion, but not really. It's really just more individual imagery. But this is like a Russian propaganda film about like space invasion.
Yeah, well, Vitamins for Life was a film that I did last year that had some live action, some stop motion, some hand drawn. It was just like, let me do what I can do well and write something or make something around that. I didn't write that one. Yeah. So this one was kind of similar. It was like, I do motion graphics for a living, for TV and stuff like that. So it's like, can I tell a story through motion graphics? Yeah. Because at first I was like, oh, I could make this as like with like special effects and found footage and do stuff. But I was like, no, just do this. Like, for my last couple jobs, it was like doing these comedy doc shows, and it's like fill this gap of a minute with motion graphics because we don't have any footage. So then it's like you're transitioning from stock footage, then a bar graph, and then a map of the United States, and then people. It's like I could tell a story like just through this. Yeah. So that was kind of the style for that, was making something that's like weird and, you know, hopefully unique looking, but also just like, this is all just motion graphics essentially, or like stuff that could be in like my normal day job almost. Yeah. It is a little unfortunate seeing this online because like I don't normally complain about little like glitches or frame rates and stuff like that, but the whole film is like super, super grainy. It's like 100% grain. Yeah. That's all it is. And when you try to play that online, it looks like shit. It's like so blocky and compressed. So like at festivals when it plays, it's like, oh, this is great. And then when you watch it online, you're like, why did I do it all grain? But it's okay. It still works.
No, I can understand that to a degree, but like it works with the amount of grain that you see, because when we watched it originally, we watched it in our screening room, and it says playing on a fairly large television set. Like I'm really against the idea of watching like anything on your computer or God forbid your phone. But I do think because it plays like it was made in the 40s and 50s, that having that kind of excessive amount of noise going on inside of the picture kind of actually still totally works for it. So don't you're being too hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah, I hate when people do that. So I'm trying to do it lightly, but it's,
be lightly hard on yourself. So Anca, your film is really phenomenal. We actually have a lot of animation, although most of it is playing in the international program that really amplifies the female voice behind the stories kind of being told through animation. Like I said, I think there's like 3 movies or 4 movies in international that kind of do a little bit of this, but yours does it in a really funny way about, you know, and it's kind of has a kind of Cartoon Network-esque vibe to it. Like I would love to see more of this story about the Lizard Queen.
Well, I'm working on my pilot. I am actually, so I got into the animation side of it through the exact opposite way. Like everyone here, I'm not lying when I say that I literally cannot draw. I'm really shit at it. But I do work at Adult Swim, and I'm a producer of the animated IDs. So I work with a bunch of animators. I kind of help creative direct to like get their vision, to support their vision. And then, you know, also as a producer, I'm good with the budget. And so I got together a budget, and I was like, okay, I have this much. What can I do with this? And I've done a couple live action shorts before. I'm more of like a comedy writer and director. And I was like, well, I've produced a bunch of animated content. Why not just try to make my own? So I hired some animators, and my budget was very small, which is why I did just like 2D animation that you do in like Toon Boom. But they did a great job. And I also think like that style kind of works for what I'm trying to do with Lizard Queen, which is to make it into a TV show. So I think like that kind of, you know, it's not like a Family Guy-ish style yet, but it's like kind of like that rough around the edges kind of thing.
No, I think that it works really well for the story because, again, it's a very funny story, and obviously it's a story that has layers behind it. I mean, it is addressing, you know, issues that people, you know, internalize a lot of, you know, concerns and self-doubt and whatnot. But in the same way that Walt does it, kind of like it allows you to look at something that seems like it's going to be very familiar and very sweet and very cute, and it allows you to use that as subterfuge for like putting something underneath that has some real, like, you know, level of, you know, pathos behind it. So
yeah, that's sort of what I like to do, especially with like female driven work. Everyone thinks that, oh, it'll be nice and sweet and innocent, and I'm like, fooled ya.
Yeah, I'm sorry we don't have 2 of your other animators that are on here, Dansky Tang, who did Umbilical, which is a really intense film as well, and Kim from Madeline Landry, her stop motion piece about a mermaid who or siren who's just can't seem to find love because she kills all the men. You know? There's a lot of really great work in this program this year. I'm really excited about, you know, the audience reactions to it. I'm excited to hear everybody come out of the theater and tell me what they loved and, you know, what sometimes they hated, because usually if they hated, it's something that I just championed to the end of time and would throw down on a sword for any day of the week. Matthew, do you have anything you want to interject to anybody, or maybe I'll let these guys turn them loose on each other?
I mean, I would just say, I mean, obviously these are all terrific short animated films, but I think what makes them really special for us is the thought behind them and the writing. The scripts in some of these are phenomenal. I mean, they're really, really good. And so I'm curious, because a few of you have mentioned you're not terrific artists per se. Did anybody consider making their film live action instead of animated?
No.
Anyone?
No.
No.
Well, I mean, I kind of did. I mean, I mentioned it before, but it was going to be all like special effects driven if I was going to do it with like archival footage and stuff. And then I was like, what am I doing? That's going to be so much harder than just
right.
Images.
What did I tell you, man? Like, I secretly was just ready for Zandria to be like, yeah, but like they were really against that at the ASPCA was super against.
PETA.
All right, well, you know, you guys, for the most part, you've had a chance to look at each other's stuff, and I know I didn't give you guys a ton of time to do that, and for that I apologize, but is there anything you guys want to ask each other about your work or elements of it? Don't be shy. Grier, you got a question?
I wanted to ask Ethan, at the beginning, this is just stupid technical stuff, but at the beginning of your film, there's like really crazy smooth camera motion with the stop motion. And I was just like, is it a motion control rig? Like, I don't know. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, you're talking about the shot inside the car. That's kind of almost like they're passing the camera around. It's an iPhone that's mounted on a basically like an articulate, like a boom arm, and I'm animating it on the fly. There's no motion control, and then it's kind of like stabilized a little bit in post, but I think it ends up working because it's supposed to be handheld, you know. I don't know if it would necessarily land if it wasn't like that. But the iPhone it wound up working pretty well for that application. It has a minimal focal length. It was a little bit of a problem, but it was pretty easy to animate just because it's so small and lightweight. You can put it wherever you need to.
This is side note, but I feel like on stop motion stuff, like when you have a tiny little sensor like an iPhone, it actually makes stop motion like really nice because you can get like a depth of field that matches the miniature scale a little bit more. I don't know. Weird new technology.
No, I think you're right about that. I mean, I can remember seeing some stop motion that was done a few years back where they were still using like some lip step cameras to like really get in there on it. And yeah, iPhone does, I think, offers that. That's a very cool thing. Chance to do that. Any other questions from anybody else about stuff?
I got a question for Grier.
Yeah.
Where did the idea for your short come from?
It was basically like environmental, like as a metaphor for plastic, kind of. It's just like, you know, we're destroying our planet at this crazy rate, and this plastic is going to outlive us all. And like, it's just like not sustainable at all. And just trying to take that idea and then roll with it. Like, what if it was plastic, but times 10? What if it, you know, it was like even crazier? So that was the kind of main idea behind it, something slightly environmentally conscious.
Cool. Yeah, I really loved it.
Yeah, what I like about Message from Space is that it feels, to a degree, it feels familiar. Like the concept of the story to me, when we originally saw it, I felt like, okay, I can totally get on board with this. And then where it ends up going completely at the end is not necessarily what I anticipated. This idea of essentially converting the Earth into nothing more than a fuel supply source for another.
Honestly, like I sent the script out to a couple of my friends, and one of them had like the really good analogy of the silkworm, which is the whole movie now. It's like, if I didn't have that analogy, it's nothing. I was like, then I looked up to silkworm kind of thing, and it's like, holy cow, that's exactly what I'm trying to communicate. So that like made it into the script, and yeah, helped a lot.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Anyone else? All right. Well, if we're oh, you've got one.
I
Lisa.
have one. Yeah. So I know Greg from when I worked at the School of Visual Arts like a decade ago, and Greg was a student there. And Walt was your character in your student film way back when.
Wow.
So I'm curious about the evolution of Walt over the last decade plus.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, I didn't really do anything with Walt for a while after I graduated. And then, I don't know, I just kind of wanted to, he was kind of like just an imaginary best friend that was kind of always around. So even though I didn't really like make a ton of short films with him after school until the one that I made like 4 years ago, he was always kind of in the back of my mind. And I think the more that happened, the more it kind of like morphed into this weird version of me, I guess. And yeah, now Walt is just basically like me when I was a little immigrant boy running around in America who just moved here from Moldova and didn't really know what was going on, and a lot of misunderstandings and just trying to get by.
Oh my God.
You're from Moldova?
Yep.
I'm from Romania.
Wow.
So
There
cool.
you go. Cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I can't believe that. That's very cool between Lisa and Greg. The idea that you actually saw this thing at SVA like a decade ago.
Yeah, Walt's been around for like, he's like 15 years old at this point.
Wow.
Crazy.
Did you miss not being able to, or not animating it yourself? Was it strange to like have other people doing it now?
There was a part of me that really wanted to get in there and do some stuff. But I think in like, I don't know, overall, I think it's good to be able to let things go. And there's a lot of really good people that are really good at animating that aren't me. So I think it was a good way to like learn how to like communicate ideas that I would have otherwise been like, let me just do this.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess what I want to do is kind of go around the room, because I mean, we can't do 10 hours of this. I mean, as much as I would love to, but you guys probably wouldn't, but I would, because I don't have anything else to do with my life. But this is like, I really would love to hear, like, if you guys are working on another project, but if you've got an expansion on current project that you have in, Anca kind of based on that a little bit with development. But yeah, it's just like Matthew said, these are incredible stories for the most part behind these shorts. And I think that's really a testament to, the talent, not necessarily just because of the animation, but the ability to kind of communicate with everybody through animation to tell universal stories. So Jake, what are you working on? Anything new and exciting to keep you away for the next 12 months drawing?
Yeah, so that that leads me to sort of a question I wanted to raise that we can all think about going forward. But like most of my work obviously was made before the pandemic started, and now I'm starting to see people react to my work with the current mindset. And my work is a lot about anxiety and isolation already. So I'm interested, Tim and Matthew, also from the festival point of view, but just how your film kind of feels different, or how you might think about it differently now that we're in this current moment, or how audience reacts. So now I am thinking now, like, we'll see how long this goes on for, but my work tends to be a reaction to like the world around me in my life. So I do want to, in a conscious way, sort of think about how to channel this historic moment in my work. The other thing going on in my life is I had my first child in November.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, and she's 9 months old next week. But yeah, my style of drawing and my artistic habits don't work very well right now. And it's actually kind of a cool thing. So I'm kind of rethinking my whole kind of artistic process. I only have like spare moments to work, way less time to sort of go into that deep focus. And I'm really inspired by like early childhood kind of like art and education tools. And it seems like so fundamental to the way we all think and see. And I'm kind of knee deep in it. So I've been making some work. It's on my Instagram if anyone wants to look it up, or on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Some little loops from my daughter based on sort of my experience with her and just how I think she sees shapes and colors in the world. And it sort of made my style a little bit more, I don't know, lighthearted and more blocky and geometric. And now I'm doing a piece that's inspired by Goodnight Moon. So it's bringing in a bit of that like trippy childhood stuff.
Nice.
Mixed with my own point of view. And I think it could be actually more accessible and get to like what I'm trying to do in my work, and reach more people possibly. So it might be a year or two before I have new work that I can really submit to festivals, but that's where I'm going right now.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Yeah. Bernardo, you working all the time? What do you got going on?
Yeah, I do. I think Frank also said that he considers himself a writer first and foremost. That's pretty similar to how I do it. I write, and then sometimes it's live action, sometimes it's animation. I haven't been animating too much. I've been drawing, but mostly I've been just writing. And there's a live action feature that hopefully we were supposed to be shooting this year, but who knows? It's down in we're supposed to shoot down in Miami. So if everyone down in Miami can wear their masks, and we'll see if we can make it so that Bernardo can shoot his movie by the end of the year. And then some TV stuff that I don't want to talk about just yet, but is really exciting and cool.
Ethan, how long do I know everybody always asks this of stop motion, so if you're working on anything new, I want to definitely know that, but I guess how long did you actually spend on this project, and then if you're working on something new, how far into the game are you?
I worked on it off and on for 5 or 6 years. I got a pretty demanding day job, so it's not always, sometimes it sits for months, and then sometimes I'm really on it. So I don't think 6 years is really an accurate way to describe it, but it was a big part of my life for a long time. The latest is I've kind of spun off in a totally new direction. I'm making an audio drama, a podcast that draws from my experience growing up in Indiana, and it's got some similar themes to Destination Unknown. It's about a girl who lost her sister to like a cold case murder, basically, and she's trying to work through that grief and to catch the killer. So it's kind of got a thriller aspect to it.
That's very cool. Greg, further adventures of Walt?
Hopefully there's one more left to air on Cake. I think it's maybe on August 8th or something. And then aside from that, my friend and I sold an animated show to HBO Max. So writing a pilot for that.
That is very cool. Congratulations.
Very exciting. Thank you.
Zandria, so you just graduated from SCAD. So what are you working on in the world?
Currently not much. Before the corona hit, I did have an internship at Pixar. But fortunately, because of the corona, we all got sent home, and I've been home ever since. So now I'm just working on personal projects and trying to figure out where my next career is after this. So, yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, we're gonna keep an eye out for it because Doll's Story is ripe for continuum. Like, even if it's not the same dolls, like, I think there's something there. Like, I'm just putting that out there in the world.
Yeah, every family has its drama, so it can be a play on different families' dramas.
Absolutely.
And secrets too, I guess.
Yeah.
Lisa and Anna.
Yeah, so Anna and I functioned as a unit for the Opposites game, but sadly at the moment we're not functioning as a unit, but hopefully at some point soon that will be the case. I am a full-time animation director at TED Ed currently, so I'm working on developing a project on the origins of jazz, which I'm really excited about.
Cool.
And that would be with like a lot of rotoscoping, but a lot of hand-drawn animation. So I'm really excited about that project. But then pandemic-wise, it's actually for me I've had more success with doing micro projects. So I've been doing like really tiny experiments from home with like pixelation and just like, you know, stupid videos of me eating everything in my kitchen and things like that. Just like playing around with animation as a medium, just in a, I don't know, in the beginning, I'm sure everyone can relate to this. In the beginning of the pandemic, everyone was in this zone of like feeling like you're supposed to be productive, but also feeling like you're supposed to be not productive because that's unfair to all the people who can't be productive. And so you're just in this like zone of how do you get anything done or feel good about getting things done. So I found that by making really tiny goals, I felt much better about every single day. So yeah.
I just finished a personal project. It's in color grading right now, and it's funny when you started asking everybody about the future. My computer told me your connection is unstable. So
should be a tattoo on my forehead right now.
Yeah, I have a couple of jobs. I work with a colleague from Berlin on we are developing a kids film. It's in a like animatic stage right now, and then I'm also collaborating with a musician on Bach project. So I don't know, it involves some toilet paper.
Cool.
We'll see.
All right. Frank, since writing is really the focus, what have you got going on?
Well, I mean, I guess trying to, send some scripts out there, that kind of thing, but that's the usual grind. I've been animating a short. I guess it's a short. It's like 35 pages in that weird, like middle section between feature and short for about a year and a half at this point. And so just kind of steadily shooting the reference footage and then animating over top of it. I'm trying to step up from Things Happen Because, which was all photos that I rotoscoped over top of, to video and like compositing background video on top of foreground video and other stuff like that. And also working on, I majored in computer science at UCF as well as film. And so I've been working on like distortion algorithms and stuff like that to take in photos and break them down into like bit matrices, that kind of thing, and mess them up. And I very much feel what Grier was talking about with noise getting just completely destroyed by compression. I have an algorithm that basically converts photos into noise, higher and lower densities of noise, so you can kind of make out objects. And if it's not uncompressed, it's just totally illegible. But just yeah.
No, that's awesome. I really appreciate that. You got to check out, if you get to check out Vertigo AI in the experimental block this year.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to the experimental block.
Yeah, Kate Schultz, who's on that team with me, who's a professor at UCF.
Yeah,
she will tell you all about it.
Actually, the distortion algorithm, what I was talking about with the noise, was for a short that was going to be played at the Sunspot Cinema event that got canceled.
It got canceled, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they actually pushed it out to October. Fingers crossed for it staying there. But yeah.
Cool. We're looking forward to seeing that. Grier, what are you working
on? I've been working from home. I was on a show, got a couple of weeks of that from home, and then I used that computer that I took from work to it was like one of those kind of dream jobs. It was like animate a music video for this old like 70s metal song, and it was like, oh, okay. It was like I haven't gotten a job like that in 15 years since college, and it's just like perfect timing for that. But I'm also working on kind of fully CG animated characters for like this micro series about space wizards, and then also trying to just like work on small things like you were saying. It's like on the iPad, just trying to, for a month I was away and was like, let me see if I can do an animation completely on the iPad using this new program called Loom. I don't know if you guys have been messing with that. It's so much fun.
Cool app. Yeah.
So I've been like trying to animate like different shots, screen grabbing them, then making the music on like a synthesizer app, and then dropping that into another program. And it's like, this kind of works. It's like a little frustrating that I spent years like rigging these CG wizards and stuff, and then I'm just like drawing it out. Is this better than the CG wizards? Like, I don't know. So trying to just do a lot of different things, but it's fun.
That's awesome. And Anca, you did mention that you are working on this to develop it, but so maybe a little bit more about that if you're willing to talk about that, or anything else that you kind of got your fingers or toes in over at Adult Swim.
Yeah, I am. So yeah, I'm writing the pilot for Lizard Queen, and I have like a pitch deck thing for that, so that I'm working on developing that and then shopping around and meetings and whatever. And then the other thing I've been working on, like the pandemic has kind of helped this part of my career, but I've been able to write on a couple animated series, like because everyone's doing like virtual writers rooms and stuff. So I've written on a couple animated shows, and one of them is coming out soon. It's called YOLO Crystal Fantasy on Adult Swim, and it's insane and about Australia. So when you were saying that, I grew up in Miami, so when you were saying that Florida is the Australia of America, I really felt that.
It is, man. It's like we got alligators, they got crocodiles. It's
exactly.
It's still gonna kill you.
Yeah. And then the last thing, one of my shorts, it's a live action short. It's called See You Later Tuesday. It's a rom-com set within a cult. That short film is gonna come out on Amazon in October. So yeah.
Look for that.
Awesome. Really excited to hear about everything that everyone's working on. Gosh, I just thank you guys so much for coming out and giving us 45 minutes to an hour of your time. It's really appreciate it. For you guys out there that have watched these and have not had a chance to see them and somehow thought it was wise to watch the Q&A before you saw the movies, they are totally available. We didn't give away the spoiler on Ethan's movie, so that's good. Just in case, you guys should definitely check them out on our Eventive site, and they're all available for the Audience Award, so make sure that you vote for that. And also make sure that you vote in November. And thank you guys again so much. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get to see you guys in person sometime in a future festival when we're all safe and past this insanity.
Thank you. Thanks for having me
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Nice to meet you all.
Meeting everybody.
Good meeting you. Really